He walked into the store unseen, unnoticed, and completely unrecognized, but his presence carried the weight of a decision that could change the fate of hundreds of employees. CEO Adrian Hale, a man known for turning failing companies into thriving giants, had spent years behind glass offices, boardrooms, and numbers flashing on screens. Yet that morning, as he pushed open the glass door of one of his own retail branches, a small store on the quiet edge of the city, he stepped into a world where profit margins didn't matter as much as human battles invisible to the naked eye. His heart raced, not because he feared being exposed, but because he already sensed something was wrong. A report had landed on his desk claiming low performance, rude staff, and complaints from customers. He had reviewed it all night, wondering how a branch that once ranked among the best had suddenly plummeted. But he intended to evaluate the truth himself. The moment he stepped inside, his eyes fell on the exhausted cashier whose trembling hand, pale face, and hidden watery eyes hinted at a story that spreadsheets could never tell. He didn't know it yet, but that day would tear open a truth that would shake him, humble him, and change him forever. If you believe kindness and second chances matter, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe right now. Your support helps stories like this reach more hearts. Adrian blended into the background, dressed in a simple hoodie and jeans, far different from the tailored suits the world knew him for. The store had the soft hum of refrigerators, the faint smell of disinfectant, and the scattered footsteps of early customers. Everything seemed normal at first glance. Shelves were stocked, lights were bright, and employees moved efficiently. But something felt emotionally off. The store had an invisible heaviness, as if the air itself carried a sigh. His gaze drifted again to the cashier, a young woman with tired eyes and forced smiles. She greeted every customer, but the brightness in her voice cracked like thin glass trying to hold back a storm. Each time she thought no one was watching, she gently pressed a hand over her chest, breathed deeply, and blinked away tears that she was determined not to let fall. It wasn't the behavior of someone lazy or careless or rude as the report claimed. It was the behavior of someone hurting, someone fighting a silent war. Adrian moved through the aisles, observing everything. He saw employees hustling despite low energy, customers being served politely, and operations running more smoothly than the report had suggested. The more he watched, the more he questioned the accuracy of what he had read. Still, he wasn't satisfied. He needed to understand what had caused this decline, and why the cashier looked like she carried the world on her shoulders. As he pretended to browse, he noticed how the manager barked orders too sharply, dismissing the cashier's attempts to help with cold gestures. He watched how the cashier flinched quietly, almost unnoticeably, each time her name was called. There was tension, miscommunication, and something deeper, a story hidden behind those tired, tear-filled eyes. Adrian knew he had to get closer, so he picked up a few items and walked toward the checkout counter. The cashier looked up, offering him a smile that tried to hide her emotional bruises. Her voice was soft, steady, trained to be polite, yet as she scanned each item, her hands shook slightly. Adrian noticed every detail, the way she wiped her eyes discreetly between customers, how she inhaled deeply as though fighting a breakdown, and how she whispered small words to herself that he almost heard, words that sounded like reminders to keep going. Something stirred inside Adrian, a mixture of concern, curiosity, and a strange ache he hadn't felt in years. He realized the report hadn't captured anything close to the truth. This wasn't a failing employee. This was a breaking human being. That moment, as she handed him his receipt, a tear fell down her cheek. She didn't even realize it had escaped. She simply wiped it away quickly and forced another smile. Adrian pretended not to notice, but inside, a knot tightened in his chest. He stepped aside after paying, lingering near the exit as though deciding whether to leave or stay. Then he saw it, the cashier slipping behind a shelf, covering her face with both hands and silently crying. Not loud, not dramatic, just a quiet collapse. The kind that only happens when a heart is overwhelmed. Adrian felt his breath catch. Something was very wrong, and he couldn't walk away. He approached gently, staying discreet. He didn't speak to her, didn't reveal who he was, didn't intrude. Instead, he watched from a distance as the manager marched toward her with irritation instead of compassion. The cashier quickly straightened, wiping her face frantically, trying to appear normal. But the manager scolded her for being slow, for taking too long, for being emotional at work. Adrian felt heat rising inside him. It wasn't anger at the manager alone, it was frustration at himself. How long had this been happening? How many employees across his company were silently suffering, While he sat in meetings believing numbers told the whole story, he left the store briefly, walking into the cold air outside to think. The city around him buzzed with noise, traffic, and routine life, but his mind couldn't leave that young woman's face. He wondered about her story. Why was she crying? Why was she working in such a broken emotional state? Why hadn't anyone helped her? He remembered how, years ago, he had been a young man working minimum wage jobs to support his sick father. He remembered crying in bathroom stalls, wiping his tears, and returning to work because failure was not an option. Perhaps that was why her pain struck him so deeply. Perhaps he saw a reflection of his own past. Determined to understand the truth, he returned inside and observed from a hidden corner. Soon, he noticed something that made everything click into place. The cashier pulled out her phone during a break and stared at a message with shaking hands. Her face broke again, this time with a deeper grief. The screen showed a picture of a little boy in a hospital bed. Adrian felt his own heart sink. She scrolled further, revealing hospital bills, messages from doctors, and heartbreaking reminders of her son's condition. The truth hit him like a wave. She wasn't failing at her job. She was fighting for her child's life. Suddenly, the entire report he received felt shamefully incomplete, as if the person who wrote it had deliberately ignored the human behind the role. Adrian realized the cashier wasn't struggling because she was incompetent. She was struggling because she carried responsibilities far heavier than anyone should bear alone. He watched her tuck her phone away, inhale deeply, plaster another fragile smile on her face, and return to work like nothing had happened. That level of strength moved Adrian in a way he hadn't been moved in years. He stayed in the store, quietly observing for hours. Every moment revealed more about her resilience. She helped elderly customers with patience, guided confused shoppers with kindness, and supported her colleagues, even when her own spirit looked close to shattering. She was the kind of employee companies needed but rarely noticed. The kind of person who gave more than she had, simply because she didn't know how to give up. Adrian realized she wasn't a weakness in the store, she was its backbone. The day continued with occasional tears hidden behind shelves, brief moments of dizziness she tried to conceal, and a heaviness she fought with fragile courage. As closing time approached, Adrian stood near the entrance and watched her walk out of the store, hugging her thin jacket around herself as cold wind rushed past her. She walked slowly, with tired steps, toward a bus stop. No taxi, no car, no sense of privilege. Just a silent, exhausted journey home after giving everything she had. Adrian followed at a distance, still anonymous, still quietly observing. He watched her sit alone at the bus stop, pull out a folder of medical documents, and stare at them helplessly. A final tear slipped down her cheek, illuminated by the dim streetlight above her. Adrian knew he couldn't remain a silent observer any longer. He returned to his car, made a phone call, and instructed his HR head to meet him early the next morning. He didn't reveal why. He simply said something urgent had come up. The next day, the cashier arrived at work expecting just another painful routine, but life had other plans for her. Adrian entered the store, not disguised this time, but as himself. Employees froze, the manager stiffened, and whispers filled the air. The cashier looked confused, nervous, unsure why the CEO of the whole company was standing in front of her. Adrian approached her with the kindness of someone who had seen her pain, someone who now understood her silent battles. And though details unfolded differently in reality, the essence remained the same. He acknowledged her struggles, rewarded her resilience, corrected the injustice she had endured, and ensured her child received medical support. The entire staff watched in stunned silence as the CEO showed compassion not from the top of a corporate tower, but from eye-level human to human. If this story moved you even a little, please like the video, share it, comment your thoughts, and subscribe. Your engagement helps us bring more emotional stories to life. Before you reach the ending, please leave a comment. What would you have done if you were the CEO? In the days that followed, the cashier's life transformed. She received not only financial support but also flexibility, understanding, and respect. Her child's treatment improved. Her heart, once heavy with exhaustion, felt light with hope. The manager underwent training and accountability measures. The atmosphere in the store changed as employees realized that leadership could be empathetic, not just authoritative. And Adrian, he walked away with a renewed understanding of what leadership truly meant. Success wasn't measured by profit margins alone, it was measured by the lives touched, the dignity upheld, and the humanity preserved. The story ended not with dramatic twists, but with something far more powerful: healing, kindness, and a reminder that sometimes the world changes not through grand gestures, but through small moments of compassion noticed at the right time by the right heart.